Hello and welcome once again to the Revolution track at WordCamp Santa Clarita 2021. My name is Ahmed and I am one of the team reps for making WordPress design. I work as a community relations manager at Forget WP and also the live stream wrangler for this WordCamp. You are listening to the 11 a.m. talk with JV Libunao and Ron Amick. Please feel free to add your question to the YouTube chat feed and we'll try to answer them at the end of the talk. The crisis last year has slowed down businesses for a lot of us. Some advanced and some formed new entities. In this session, JV of OneVector Design Co. company, together with Ron Amick of Lucky Cat Creative, talks about how they created partnerships to create new opportunities. Talking about these speakers, JV Libunao has been designing websites for a dozen years. He's a former creative at the largest transportation authority in the country, LA Metro. He runs his own creative agency serving diverse clients in different states and founded an online community platform leveraging WordPress. Ron Amick is a creator with two heads. He can write code and content, edit film and add copy, and speak both digital and analog. With an engineer father and painter mother, Ron Amick always had an affinity for both technology and art. His misspent youth was dedicated to making short films, which, through no fault of his own, landed him at USC Film School. After stints working as a producer and editor at several studios and post-production houses, he landed at Disney New Technology and New Media, which ignited a love for web development. Moving from entertainment to tech was less of a pivot than a way to combine his interest in computers with his passion for storytelling. Since then, Ron has learned and also forgotten more software than is reasonable. Flash anyone? And worked with many creative agencies, tech companies, and entertainment clients to create websites, mobile apps, games, books, e-commerce stores, and more. It's hard being both a geek and a nerd, says Ron. But who are you if you don't even try? Which brings to the session how I shaped my business during the pandemic, presented by JV Limunao and Ron Amick. Take it away.
Hello, worldwide WordPress community. Thank you so much for joining us today for our presentation. We appreciate you taking an hour off your day to join us. So Ron and I will be sharing how we shape our separate businesses to be ready for the changes in the WordPress business environment with the looming pandemic and beyond. And we hope these tips would be useful to you in one way or another.
And hello, I'm Ron. As JV said, we are here to just encourage everyone in a way, in a kind of a general way, to expand your businesses or expand your sole proprietorship or whatever you have. And hopefully this will encourage you and give you some ideas.
Mm-hmm. And I think we're just like most of you, like we're trying to go at it alone, trying to accomplish things by ourselves, like doing a Chuck Norris. Um, and though we have skills to complete all the tasks or chase bigger projects, it can be true. But there's one thing that we all don't have abundantly, and that is time. And in an effort to work faster and make more revenue, we were navigating the WordPress development world of tasks alone, especially in this precedented times.
Very well put.
Before we proceed, allow us to introduce ourselves. So I am JV. I run my own web design studio over here in Los Angeles. I have been a designer for 17 years, and 12 of those are spent designing and building WordPress websites. I am a former creative designer at the largest public transportation in the US, which is LA Metro. And in an effort to take my WordPress skills and knowledge further, I started an advocacy through an online platform that I founded last year in March 2020 to provide online resources for the Filipino American community throughout the US.
Very nice. Hi, I'm Ron, and I've been working on websites for maybe 24 years and WordPress for something like 10 or 11. I have a small agency in North Hollywood, California. My background is in the entertainment industry and content, and I am the product of an engineer father and an artist mother. But what I like most to do is to help clients find a way to run their own sites, and that's why I came to WordPress, because it empowers anyone to have a gigantic publishing machine at their disposal. Um, so speaking of Chuck Norris, you may have heard the phrase cowboy coding, trying to do everything yourself, or doing everything in a unilateral way without any oversight, trying to go it alone. I really discourage that. It's uh, it's impossible. Whatever your skill set is, and mine is, a mix. I'm a mix of back end, front end, middle end, every end. Um, that there are people around you, or people you may have encountered, that you may want to tap as resources, and they are amazing in and of themselves, but they can amplify anything you do if you work together. So find collaborators, know where your limitations are, and find collaborators. That's what I would like to suggest.
Collaboration is a very powerful process. Some people consider it as a tool, and there are so many benefits in diving into it, which may be daunting at first, especially if you are used to accomplishing things by yourself. And I know it can resemble to some people. And when you collaborate, you become more flexible because you have more minds thinking of strategies to different approaches for like maybe a shift in operations. And you also get more manpower to accommodate business tasks and challenges. And, and since there's more brains to think, you come up with more innovative ideas for each project. And sure, there might be some friction somewhere over there, but more importantly, you get more productive and you get more strategic output, which overall adds value to your organization. And since you are spending less time in tasks and coming up with solutions, you free up your time to focus on other things. And this can be like other administrative tasks that have been piled up because you're busy working on your projects, other core activities in delivering your client's WordPress website, or better, more projects. Like you could even double or triple the amount of projects that you work on every month. And for some, it also helps in freeing up time to do some personal tasks.
I found a collaborator in JV for design in this project for the noted writer and historian Stephen C. Smith. His website is mediasteven.com. He's someone with a very colorful background, writing books about the movie industry, and is extremely knowledgeable. So I was pretty intimidated when I was asked to do his site, because I wanted to make sure it had a good key art presentation and a logo. And luckily, a friend, some guy named Joe, had introduced me to JV, and I asked him to give it a try, and he was brilliant. He came through, and far beyond my expectations. And I'll let him explain a little bit more about his methods.
Yeah, so part of my design upbringing is like to always come up with stories, especially when you come up with designs for logos. And I just happen to have all that training and skills that have been useful for Ron's requirement for a logo design, and which you would see in this slide, what I came up with. And to add a little bit onto our collaborative efforts here, I would say that collaboration, it's not just about productivity and growth for your business. I think it's also an opportunity to help out others, especially a fellow freelancer or a fellow business owner. And we all know the challenges of getting work, right? Especially during the pandemic. And sometimes asking out for help also could also mean helping out. So that's very cool. So we've been talking about the benefits of collaboration, and I think this is one of the major things. So when you partner up with someone, you, of course, you expand your team, and it doesn't even change your business identity at all. You stay like, if you are an LLC or sole proprietor, you stay that way. But you are able to form joint venture partnerships. And when you do that, you grow your team, you get more ideas, manpower, and time. Hence, you become a powerhouse, making you equipped with more skills and talent, enabling you to go after bigger contracts like projects with the city or the county. And this is one good example of that joint venture partnership where Ron and I went after a project for the city of LA.
This project is called Kids Progress, and it's part of the Housing Authority of the City of Los Angeles. It's an effort to aid the children who live in public housing in various ways. So we were inspired by the concept, and we also wanted to see if we could actually land a city contract, which in a city this large is very, very, very daunting. It's not to be entered lightly. There's a ton of logistical paperwork and forms to fill out and vetting, and you have to have many ducks in a row. In your business, you need to prove, if you land the contract, you have to prove that you have insurance. It's pretty vast, and there's a whole machine in a city like this, and maybe where you live there's something similar, that is set up for better or for worse. I mean, it's a lot of it seems to be just make work. You know, there's a formal process for submitting bids, basically, and the city or the county of Los Angeles is similar. They will send you a request for proposals or a request for bid, and it could be 40 pages long, or it could be or 20, but it's usually not a quick read, and you have to quickly read it, because now you have the clock is ticking. They want you to ask any questions you may have within a certain amount of time, like a week or 2 weeks. Sometimes there's a meeting where you can voice your questions. Other times you can send them in. For JV and me, we had all kinds of questions, and many of them were covered by others that were bidding. It's a really not, it's kind of a painful, unpleasant task, more than trying to land an individual that you happen to know, or someone. Most of my work is actually referred, you know, so this is, for me, this was a departure. Oh, and I should say thank you to JV, because his city experience got me to go to plow through all that logistical work, red tape, and we came up with this amazing proposal. So do you want to say anything, JV, about Kids Progress, about your your vision for it?
Yeah. So this particular RFP, for those who doesn't know what it stands for Request for Proposals. So now you know whenever you're gonna attempt to go after one. So this one, the scope is so big that each part can be a separate contract by itself. But the city of LA put it all together in just one. And just thinking about that, a single member LLC, a sole proprietor, or a one or two member corporation would be finding a lot of challenges in completing this kind of project. And me personally, have worked for the county of LA to public transportation, I've seen how these contracts took shape, and the vast range of opportunities is just really endless. And aside from that, the impact that your work generates is really 100% solid, because you're not just delivering like a logo or a website or collateral. You're also creating something that the public would use in almost every day. So it's also a form of giving back, in other words. So that's like super cool, right? So anyway, I was so interested in bidding for this one because the scope falls under in everything what I have been doing in the past 17 years. The problem is it's so big, I cannot do it on my own. I cannot do it alone. And so I reached out to my WordPress network, WordPress community, and I happen to know a common friend with Ron, whose name is Joe Simpson. And yeah, who's that person? Anyway, yeah. So Joe introduced me to Ron, or vice versa. And then that's how this very wonderful collaborative proposal or bid for the city came together. And uh, during the process of coming up with this proposal, that was like at the height of the stay-at-home mandates. So Ron and I couldn't meet face-to-face, and we never met face-to-face ever. And this is the very first collaboration that we did. And we were talking through the phone, we were communicating to Slack, and we made it. We came up with this very great proposal for the city of LA. And it's just the start of a very good collaborative relationship.
I couldn't have said it better. And we plan to publish this proposal. Actually, we're sending a copy of it to the Smithsonian so that they can, put it in their archives for, no, just kidding. I would like to thank JV for that description, and he's totally right. There's no way that I could have plowed through this thing without JV, and vice versa. I mean, we called each other on, and that was essential to succeed with it. Just to get your name in the running. So and speaking of that, I mean, I wanted to, the third major subject to discuss is the WordPress community. A lot of us have been struggling by ourselves to start our own business, or in my case, I've worked on immensely large teams and agencies with mosh pits where all the developers were wrestling. And I've worked in hallways, and I've worked in, giant echoey industrial spaces that were converted. And I've worked by myself. I've worked all of those different ways. And I found that working by myself, it's especially difficult because you don't have anybody to bounce ideas off of and so forth. When I discovered WordPress meetups, which was my wife's suggestion, that maybe she just wanted to get a gloomy husband out of the house. I'm not sure, but I went to a WordPress meetup, and wow, I was so amazed. I mean, instantly amazed by how friendly and inclusive and not unproductive, and none of the things that I'm used to in cynical Hollywood, working with people who are competitive. And so there's no competition, there's no politics, no religion, no anything except learning and sharing and being friends, um, on every level. And it doesn't matter if you're a beginner or an expert. Each person that is there at those meetups seem to amazingly have something to contribute. And there was no dumb question. No question was was silly. And this is not something you experience in many parts of life. If this is your first WordCamp, or your first if you first time you've heard the expression WordPress community, know that there's a million people out there. They're all around the world, and they all want to help. Speaking of inclusiveness, here's a meetup co-founded by the timely Jennifer Huang, the amazing Sumner Davenport, and the not quite as amazing myself, and the wonderful WordPress. This meetup focuses almost entirely on accessibility, design, and development in WordPress, and the learning and sharing thereof and therein. Sumner, along with Joe Simpson, is one of several voluntary organizers of this very WordCamp, who has worked tirelessly to ensure that all this goodness happens. But I digress. There's a thing called the Wordpress Foundation, which I found out about, which organizes these events and has a whole I don't want to call it a set of bylaws, but it's a guideline. They have guidelines for all WordPress events, basically. And thank goodness they do, because that's what keeps them all civil and keeps them all productive, and kind of filters out anyone who behaves poorly or is a jerk. And we're all glad for that. So if you're not aware, there's an immense resource waiting for you any night, probably almost any night of the week with Zoom, because of the pandemic. It exploded even more, the get-togethers, I should say, and they exploded geographically. Meetups, of course, are usually local, but not with the pandemic and with Zoom and other video resources. So right now is a great time to meet people in other countries and anywhere in the world, and ask questions and hear how to solve your problems with WordPress. So do so.
So yeah, virtual calls have been an accepted way of communication and holding meetings throughout the world, and Zoom happens to be the most popular of them, and I'm sure there's a lot more. But the pandemic has caused us to become far apart from each other. But more people, I think, have learned the value of the proper communication, and to especially if you are joining a WordPress event or WordPress community or organized event, you would see all good values. Though most of us are going back to our offices to work, virtual calls are here to stay. And we certainly cannot do business the same way we did 5 years ago. And we need to adapt to the way the market behaves. So yeah, Zoom and other online conferencing platforms allow us to do more, connect more, network more, while trying to save time from traffic or travel in general too.
And by the way, anyone can create a WordPress meetup. Anyone can attend a WordPress meetup. They are truly inclusive, and anyone can start their own. And generally, are organized by location, so you may have to find a location where there's not already one in the area, but maybe that's changing too because of virtual and Zoom and so forth. So avail yourself.
Take advantage of it.
Yeah, take advantage of it. Here, for your further edification, are a few links pertaining to a couple of items, well, 3 items that we discussed today. So I'll just give you a moment to jot those down. Okay. All right, got them? Okay, good. Or you can just search for Start WordPress Meetup or Contracting City of Los Angeles, Contracting County of Los Angeles. Good luck.
Thanks again for spending the last 30, 40 minutes with us to join us for our presentation. If you would like to get connected with us, scan the codes on the screen. It will lead you to our websites where you could get some information about us. Yeah, let's stay connected.
Thank you, everyone, for attending. And, don't forget to connect with all of your friends and make new friends.
Connect and collaborate. It's awesome.
Hello, JV and Ron. How are you doing?
Quite well.
Doing good, Ahmed. Thank you.
Awesome. So as I am a business development professional myself, I was enjoying your talk. And a lot of the things you mentioned is something that I do on a real life basis. So I am really excited to ask personal questions as well. But we do have a few questions in the chat. The first thing I wanted to ask you both is that when it comes to businesses, how do you see competitors? This is an individual question. So I'll start with JV and then I'll go to Ron. How do you see competitors? Do you take them as someone of an example or like a bar that you need to reach, or you find them just like jealousy and all of those negativity that we think about?
Yeah, sure. So to be honest, I used to think of competitors as competitors, like I stay away from them. But ever since I started to embrace the positivity and the effects of collaboration, I changed the way I think about them. So from then on, I thought of them as possible collaborators or possible vendors for another big project. Like Ron and I could be competitors at this very moment, but yeah, but we work together on things. So yeah, that would be my quick, straight answer to that question.
Your take, Ron.
Well, of course, I've actively sabotaged all of JV's projects and stolen all of his clients. So, no, just kidding. Truthfully, for the most part, I'm completely oblivious to competitors. But I totally concur with what JV said. If I'm aware of them, I try to reach out to them. I try to contact them as possible resources, as possible friends. But I have to say, I mean, you probably got it from the presentation that getting involved in the WordPress community at all, to any degree, kind of lowers all of one's fears of competitors, and it lets you connect with productive people, and we all need to eliminate as many negative, non-productive influences of all kinds in our lives. So I just ride along and try to be cool, like JV.
Thank you. Absolutely. And the question was spot on, because I was thinking something similar. What's that on the back of JV taking like a spy cam or something? But yeah, you've already addressed it. Yeah,
I think it's his biggest fan, actually. It's his biggest fan.
You could say that as well. So I'll start with the first question coming from Joe Simpson Jr. What is the biggest obstacle for starting your own agency? This time I'll start with Ron.
The biggest obstacle is scope. I think is deciding what where your strengths are and what what market you want to go after. I've just sort of been feeling my way since the aughts began, 2000, which is when my my go to work jobs sort of petered out. I had a lot of contract jobs, but my W-2 check-in every day kind of job, they sort of ended 20 years ago for me. Just at the same time, I managed to learn about WordPress and become my own. So you must know you must know yourself a little bit. In my case, I've always had an imposter syndrome during these last 2 decades because I don't have a computer science degree and I'm not, my father was a genius, but I'm not quite as good at math as he was. And so, but what I've found is, my strengths are in many areas that, little strengths in many areas, and content, for instance, for me is a strength. I found that I can read and write and spell things pretty well. And so, when I was talking about content, you'll find that many WordPress developers were content people, like designers, like JP. They may not be total nerds at all.
All right, thank you for that answer. So I'm just going to remind our viewers once again, use the YouTube live chat feed so that we can have questions that you can interact directly with both JV and Ron. So this time, JV, what is the biggest obstacle?
Yeah, well, I agree with what Ron said, every bit of it. Though I also think the question and the answer to that are very subjective, and as business people know that every business is different, and every situation is different. So in my case, before I started, I already knew what niche and what part of design I want to focus in. But the biggest challenge or obstacle that I've had was because I'm coming from a different country when I started my freelancing and my business. I had zero network. Like, I left everything and then moved to a new city, and trying to look for projects has been really challenging. It's been really difficult. So yeah, that's been the biggest challenge, and it's just a matter of time before I was able to come up with a great network with great people such as Ron and Joe Simpson.
Thank you for that. So talking about network, when you're networking with a competitor and you get an offer from them for a partnership or maybe a collaborative project, what is the first reaction you have? And is it justified if you feel a little bit of skeptical about it? I'll start with JV.
I guess it depends on what they're trying to. I know you mentioned a possible collaboration or partnership, but I guess it depends on what the subject matter is. But normally, I would. I'm open to that. I would explore that first before making a decision. I would like to get into a one-on-one with this person and discover what they have to offer, and then go from there.
Ron, your time.
Yeah, what he said. I mean, it's really daunting to think about making new friends, making new associations, and you have to find some common ground somehow. You have to break the barriers down. I use a lot of humor and silliness, and most people are grown, but but it's my way of showing that I don't, I'm not it. I'm something, but I'm not everything. I don't want anyone to think I'm ever a super expert on anything, because I'm just learning every day. So, you know, there's always common ground. It's like I think a lot of people, a lot of nerds, you know, work in the dark too much, and they don't know how to be friends. They don't know how to make friends. And friends come, you know, are many different kinds, but business friends are really not, you know, there's not any huge difference between that and dating. I mean, you have to control the dogs too, of course. Who was that? The JV?
That's my inner voice.
See, now there's a friend right there. You could reach out and be a friend to JV's dog. Anyway, you've got to find common ground. That's all I'm saying. And you have to ask questions of them. You have to be a good listener. You will not be a good business person at all if you do not listen. And my secret to success is to take many, many notes. You know, after you have a meeting, follow up right away with what you thought you heard was said at the meeting, so that you keep the discussion going. It's like that. You just have to, you know, have good manners, good courtesy, show interest, and like Wordpress Foundation says, don't be a jerk.
Right, those are great advice. So the next question is also from Joe Simpson Jr. How do you decide whether to start as an LLC, S corporation, or other? How do you decide the approach to taxes when starting up? Technical question. I'll start with Ron.
I happen to go the corporation route, partly because I had access to people that could set that up, you know, that could help me set it up. But also, if you own any property, if you have a house, if you have, you know, if you're not just living fast and free, you want to protect those things. So to me, from my research, this is, again, 21 years ago, being a corporation, in this case, it's an S corp, which is a small business, would, in my understanding, would give me the greatest protection. However, it comes with, you know, it's much more complex. It's you have to have, you know, a board. You have to give. You have to keep meeting minutes. You have to. In California, it's very expensive too. You have to pay, you know, California Franchise Tax Board every year, whether you make any income or not. So an LLC, you know, JV can talk about LLC. I have not done that myself. A lot of people go that way. It seems more friendly. What do you think, JV?
Yeah. So, well, I'm coming from my side of the story. I mean, we're not like tax professionals or business consulting professionals. Of course, they will be able to answer you with better answers, but at least our side of the story is what you know. So when I started a few years back, I was doing a sole proprietor for a few years, and it was doing fine. It was doing good. I had very low overhead expenses. I had very low or very easy way of operating the business, because it's just basically me, and I wasn't in a company then. But I wasn't feeling confident chasing after bigger projects as a sole proprietor, and I felt like I was treated as a freelancer, which I was because I was a freelancer. And ever since I switched to being an LLC, that's when I became really confident. Like the people see the business as a company, not anymore as just me. And I chose to do an LLC after like long conversations with my tax professional and my business consultant, because depending on the setup that I want to run the business, it is what worked well. So like what Ron said, for a corporation, there could be like a board, and you're required to even maybe have a board meeting, I think, or if it's not with the S corp, it's with the C corp. But with LLC, it's much simpler. I am an employee of my own LLC. The LLC is its own entity. It's its own being. But I just find doing LLC much simpler than a corporation, so I went that route. And there's more details. There's more details to share, but I mean, I would suggest that you consult with your tax professional.
Totally.
Yeah.
And just to follow up, JV mentioned sole proprietorship. If for those that don't know, there are several levels of business entities, and sole proprietorship is just yourself. I mean, that's it, without doing a single thing, you are a sole proprietor. And if you wish to hang out a shingle as such, and then there's partnerships, which is a form, an entity, and then LLCs, corporations, and so forth. So yeah, it's very, very important to find an accountant when you set up your company who can advise you, and maybe an attorney, even just to set it up, because you want to set up your business accounts in the early. And later on, you can, you might be able to do all the accounting and business keeping yourself, but get an expert to help you in your industry. That's someone that knows your industry. So some tips.
Thank you. Those are real helpful, and I'm sure our audience can take advantage of it. So when it comes to networking, so I am currently a community relations manager, and my job is to find leads and opportunities, and I pass it to the other team that works relentlessly in building prospects for the company. So is this the way moving forward as a global pandemic hit us in 2020? We don't know what's going to happen in 2022 or 3 or beyond. So as your talk focuses on shaping your business, should business owners be ready for opportunities to come in the near future? I'll start with JV or Ron, whichever.
No, go ahead.
You go ahead, Ron. I know you have something to say.
Well, I always have something to say, but that's not necessarily worth listening to. Yeah, absolutely. You've got to be flexible, no matter what. I mean, you've got to be able to change your whole, change up your whole the impression that you give the world, your marketing of yourself and your business. So, yeah, I mean, Zoom and online to me, is a fantastic opportunity to have way more connections conveniently and and accurately, and you can record them, and I mean, there's so many advantages. It's not the same as meeting someone in person. You should, with every client, you should try to, if possible, meet them in person. I have several clients I've never ever met because they're elsewhere in the country, even before the pandemic. But take, you gotta roll with the punches. You gotta, you have to keep one eye on what's happening in the world. You can't just hide in the basement. So virtual is a huge advantage to me, I think.
Yeah. So yeah, I agree with Ron. Meeting in person is totally different because you get to feel the energy of the other person you're talking to. Though going virtual is also comes with lots of advantages. Like just for what happened to me the past 2 months, for example, I have been networking with a bunch of people from different sides of the world, and a lot of them from US, but some of them coming from Asia, some from Europe, and it has just opened a lot of doors for me. And we definitely cannot do business the same way we've done in the past before COVID. And now that virtual meetings is a more acceptable way of communicating and exchanging ideas, I mean, we should adapt to it, and we should just take advantage of it.
Thank you. JV and Ron, you've both been a gentleman in your own way. So let's talk about the WordPress community a bit and WordCamps. So JV, how do you see WordCamps contributing towards businesses and shaping their future? Do you think there is a scope for within WordCamps where businesses can participate and possibly shape their businesses?
Absolutely. And just a good example is this opportunity that you guys gave me and Ron to be a speaker and present to everyone's watching right now and in the future on WordPress TV. So that's one way. And I think just being basically a person in the back and behind the scenes is also something that's worth exploring for businesses, because yeah, I'm sure Ron has a lot to contribute to that.
Right. Ron is no stranger to this question. Ron, all yours.
Yeah, I mean, it's I've already said it all, I think, but it's very important to just make any connections you can, and honor them, and this is exposure. This is this is not only exposure on a worldwide level, potentially, but it's exposure. It's meeting people. It's a chance to meet new people, even though it's hampered by not being in person. So all businesses should. I mean, 40% of all websites are using WordPress. So most businesses should have an interest in WordCamp and they should be sending their devs. I mean, I had a lender's website just this week that I noticed was using, the overlay one line of code accessibility shortcut. And I'm going to be writing to them and saying, this is, A, it's not helping people with disabilities, and B, you're losing 25% of your potential market. C, it could get you in trouble. If that company had sent its devs to WordCamp and to WordPress meetups, I mean, by sending them, it's online now. They might be better informed on that. And to me, it's an embarrassment. It's a professional company using that plugin that I won't even mention the name of. So that's an example. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there's a lot of good points to take away from this talk, and I personally, on behalf of the organizers, would love to thank you for your time, your contribution. And as Ron mentioned about WordCamp, you're able to connect beyond borders. Like, I'm currently in Dhaka, Bangladesh, and I'm already in Sunday. I'm in a different time zone than you are. So it's a great opportunity. And I did attend about 12 WordCamps last year, jumping from region to region. So JV, welcome to the community once again, formally from me. And we hope to see you back again for future WordCamp Santa Clarita that takes place, and looking forward to the in-person events following the guidelines and restrictions that have been advised to us. So I'm going to formally wrap up the session, How I Shaped My Business During the Pandemic. Thank you all for attending this session with JV, Ron, and myself. You can
and JV's talk.
Yeah, you can continue the conversation using the SCV, WordCamp Santa Clarita, very general Slack channel where you have both Ron and JV present. So I just want to take, since I still have a few minutes, so Ron, any last words or closing remarks from you, and then to JV, and then I'll wrap up.
Oh, just go forth and introduce yourself, and don't be a stranger, and find those friends, find those resources. They are probably right in front of you. It's just do anything you can to break down maybe you're shy. It's often awkward to make new resources, make new friends, but it's a must. So it's good for you. And get a job.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you, JV.
Yeah. So yeah, network a lot and meet new people and build relationships. It's what I've been running on, what the business has been running on, and building relationships. Meet new people, discover what you do. Just don't sell the first day of or the first meetup. Just discover what the other people is doing, and yeah, enjoy.
Thanks to both of you. I would like to give a shout out to Cindy for as YouTube monitor for this chat. Great job, Shanta and others who interacted. Also Joe, during this talk. Don't forget to attend the next talk right after the lunch break. We have FSC, what's coming to 5.8, and the story of the outreach program with Anne McCarthy at 1 p.m. That is after the lunch break on the same track. Also a reminder that you can visit the sponsor area. The link has been just shared during the lunch break. You can interact with the sponsors. Plus, this is for both of you. We have an after party coming up when the day is over. So don't forget to attend it. Possibly there would be a game show by David Bissett. I've got my fingers crossed for that. So thank you so much. Hopefully we will interact in person when the time's right. Until then, take care, stay safe.
Thank you, Ahmed. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.